Hey guys, and welcome to my Minecraft tutorial on an infinite power supply for Attack of the B Team. So what have we got here? We have this behemoth here, which, amongst other things, will supply you with as much mob essence, as much power as your base will ever need. I say this is for Attack of the B Team, but any mod pack that has the thermal expansion, Mine Factory Reloaded, and Tinker's Construct mods in it will work just as well. It's based mainly around this mob spawner area, built like any auto spawning room that you may have seen. And it uses the witch here. Uses the witch primarily because it's going to give us mob essence and the solid reactant we're going to need for these dynamos over here. We are using these reactant dynamos which use a liquid fuel, the mob essence which we'll be generating, and one of two of our drops that we could possibly use. The witches drop sugar, which we could use, but they also drop gunpowder, which has got a better energy density, so we utilize that. So it looks like a fairly complex setup, and I'm not going to lie to you, it is a fairly complex setup. But I'll break it down into sections for you. Firstly, and the most simply, is the auto spawning room. The auto spawner here, if you've got a safari net with a creature in it, which we have, a supply of energy and a supply of mob essence, it will spawn a mob in this area. It'll land on these conveyor belts. You could use water if you so wish, but I found the conveyor belts a little bit easier to work with, just because you're not limited to or constrained to a specific size of room which you are with using water to push mobs along. Pushes down into this corner here, and our witches will land here, where they're going to be attacked by an autonomous activator. This autonomous activator holds weapons, which will act in our stead and attack the witches, and it will make them drop their normal drops. But, as if it was you attacking them, it will also drop XP orbs. Those XP orbs are then absorbed by this sewer. Now, the sewer can and will collect some sewage at some point, which will go into this tank here. It doesn't have any sewage at the moment. But when mobs are killed on top of a sewer or within its area of influence, they will also drop mob essence. Now, crucially, ordinarily when you're collecting mob essence, you would be using something like a mob grinder, or you would just be using a mob grinder. It only collects 100 millibuckets of mob essence per mob killed. It takes 150 millibuckets of mob essence from an AutoSpawner to create a new mob, therefore not enough to keep a supply going. However, the sewer can and will give you sometimes in excess of 500 millibuckets of mob essence per mob killed. It may or may not have something to do with the amount of hearts that a mob's got. I don't know, yet to confirm that. But anyway, the mob essence will come along here and it will fill up this tank. We have 4 tanks here, but it will fill up this bottom one first, and it goes directly back out and back round the back there, back into the auto spawner. So first and foremost, any mob essence that comes in can be utilized by the auto spawner and goes back out. So we always have a supply of mob essence to be used by the auto spawner. Once we've got that reservoir filled up, it starts filling up our secondary tank here. And then once that's full, our tertiary and whatever the next one is tank is outputted to an overflow system that we have in place. Very important to have an overflow system in place for all of these things, including the items, because if this system gets backed up, the sewer will stop absorbing things and you will start having items piling up on top in this space here, and you will very rapidly get into a situation where your server will lag out and then probably crash because the amount of things hanging around in that one area. So, as each of these tanks fills up, then it starts feeding into the next one up. So as it stands, we've got our mob essence going out to our AutoSpawner, so it will always keep running. Then it goes out to our power system, which we'll come to later on. Then I've got just a spot out here that will go on to anything you want to power with mob essence. Another AutoSpawner room or another 5 AutoSpawner rooms. Really, it does create mob essence that quickly. Anything you want out that way. And then, as I said, we've got this overflow up at the top here. The item drops are collected by this advanced item collector from random things. You could use a vacuum hopper, but it hoovers up the XP orbs as well and makes them into liquid XP. So I would steer away from that. You could just have it so it doesn't feed out that liquid XP, and it would fill up its internal reservoir, and then the sewer would take over from that point. But to keep things fairly simple, I use this advanced item collector, but like I say, use the vacuum hopper if that's not available. It goes into this chest here. The witches drop an awful lot of cool stuff. We are only interested in the gunpowder for this, but they drop glowstone dust, bottles, some potions, all sorts of things as well. And you could have them going off into a sorting system and being used as well. But for the purposes of this demonstration, everything that's not gunpowder is going over here into this nullifier, the same as our overflow from our sewage and from our mob essence as well. So this box is just going to be used to feed into there for all the things that we're getting rid of, and then the gunpowder comes through here into this chest. Once this chest is full, of course, the excess gunpowder comes along through this item duct and then back into our nullifier. You guessed it, well done. So that's our mob essence and our gunpowder into the tank here and the chest here, ready to go to our power system. So as I briefly mentioned earlier on, we're using these reactant dynamos from thermal expansion. So supply them with a tank full of mob essence there and with the gunpowder, and they will produce redstone flux, and they will be able to charge up a energy cell. This one's only got a little bit left in it at the moment, and I will show you how quickly it can output. It is supplying our repair system underneath here for our weapons, which I will come to in a second, and of course it's supplying redstone flux to our AutoSpawner. And this one out here, just as an example, could be going to the rest of your base or anything else you want to power. It does need this many dynamos to be able to power all of the stuff here and give an excess out. It would probably be able to do with a couple less, but 8 is certainly not enough, but 12 is more than enough to power this system and get a good charge going on this resonant energy cell. So I would suggest use at least 12. Much more than that's probably going to get close to the threshold for saturating this redstone energy conduit completely anyway, but less than that's not going to give you sufficient power. So that's really good. One of the things I've got going here is you'll see I have this impulse item duct set to round robin mode. It's not something that you see very often, but it's exceptionally helpful in this situation. What we've got here is the stack size is set to 5. And there's only gunpowder in here, so I haven't got any further filters set. But the round robin mode is interesting. So the stacks of 5 gunpowder will come out of here, and because it's set to round robin, it will put 5 into this dynamo, then 5 into this dynamo, then 5 into this, and carry on all the way around, filling up all 12 of these dynamos with a small stack of 5 gunpowder until it's done all 12, and then it'll go back to the start. So the gunpowder is fairly evenly distributed between all of the dynamos, so all of them are kept going as much as possible at any one time. It saves having to fill up the first one with 64, then the second one with 64, and it takes ages to get them all going. Just if you're starting off from the very beginning and you've only got a couple of gunpowder coming through at a time, then it can take quite some time for the whole 12 dynamos to get up to full power. So with our huge amount of gunpowder that we've got here, that's not so much of an issue. So let's just set this to output, and we can quickly see that the small stacks of gunpowder are coming through the tube, and you can see them going into all the various dynamos there and populating them. So those are now generating power. And as you can see here, that power is going up really quite quickly now. So that's excellent. So what next? The autonomous activator here has got two manual scythes with the capacitor on them, or I suppose the enchant flux, and they've just disappeared. I'll explain why in just a second. We've got two because we need one to be doing the killing and one to be recharging. And what happens there is this one here will be doing the killing, and this one will be sitting ready for it. This will be used for a little while. We've got a timer here set up, set to a minute at the moment, but that could be longer. It could be, I think 5 minutes would probably be fairly safe. And this repeater is set to elongate the pulse that comes out, so that this item duct will let out both of these. They'll come out, one will go into the energetic infuser, which will recharge the capacitor on the scythe that has been damaged, and the extra one will come back round through this item duct, because it can no longer go into the energetic infuser because it has got one in it already. It'll come back in, and the one that is ready to be used will pop back into the first slot. So the damaged one comes out, the ready one, the one that's undamaged comes out, the damaged one goes into the energetic infuser, and the undamaged one comes back in and goes back into the first slot. It's important to have that, otherwise you end up with one scythe that keeps on getting used and the other scythe sticks around in this slot here, not getting used. Hopefully that was clear to you. So yes, this energetic infuser here powered by our system as well, and all it does is it outputs the repaired scythe back through this, and there's a cover there that just keeps those two item ducts separate. And that's our timer system there. So I think that's everything. So if we're ready, we shall pop this witch in the Safari net back into the AutoSpawner, and you'll see very rapidly it starts spawning witches. And here we see them go down into this area. Also, the benefit of having the scythe rather than just a sword or something like that is it attacks multiple enemies at once, and in such a confined area there's a bunch of those witches getting killed all the time, and you can see it's making short work of them, and you can see that this system, as a little bit of mob essence, is going to filling up the dynamos that were emptied a little bit whilst the system was off, and very quickly this is going to fill up this, and we'll start seeing it start filling up the tank. I'll take just a moment. I think this is probably close to being, yeah, that's going to be filling up nicely, and there we go. So it started filling up this tank. It's fully filled up the system with the dynamos, and you can see how quickly that's filling up. In just a few seconds it's gone up 4 buckets, now 5 bucketfuls pretty much. It does go up and down a little bit as the AutoSpawner and the dynamos do pull out a little bit at a time, but you can see how quickly that's filling up that tank. Extremely quick. You'd need quite a lot of things working off the system before you'd really have to worry about how much mob essence you were using at any one time. Also here you can see we've got all sorts of things popping into this chest. You'd be wanting to keep the redstone and the glowstone, certainly I would imagine, probably the glass bottles and things, certainly I do in my full system setup. There we go, we've already got another 16 bucketfuls of mob essence there, and it's all into that tank as well. So hopefully that gives you an idea of of this setup. It's by far and away not something you're going to be able to set up straight away. It's quite expensive, but once you're at this sort of stage of using AutoSpawners and things, then this will be able to supply you with an awful lot of very helpful things. And as I say, one of these can easily supply quite a large base. I've got one in my setup, and I haven't had to consider changing up or adding to my power system. I've got rid of everything else. At one point I had 19 advanced solar cells from the Galacticraft pack, and I've got rid of all of those and everything else that I had, my auto tree farm and things. Got rid of all of that in preference for one of these. And it's entirely self-sufficient. The weapons repair themselves. The mob essence keeps itself topped up. It takes care of itself. As you can see, this has already completely maxed out this and is now going through the overflow back into that nullifier over there. I can't stress enough how, though, if you're going to have this on a server, how important that nullifier is, unless you want to make your server admin extremely unhappy for him to have to go and world edit out something that has crashed his server. So if you've got any questions, leave them in the comments section below. I'm going to sign off for just now and wish you happy building.